Hey fam, Shayna here. Welcome to the Earth and I YouTube space. As you know, here we flow, and I hope that you're doing wonderful. Today's flow is going to focus on triggers and the underlying message that exists within every trigger. And we're going to dive into the great potential that we have in this space and the calling to co-create when we experience these energies and these moments. Life has been whirlwind. It always is, yet sometimes it's a little more demanding than others. This topic has come to the forefront because there's a lot going on in the world, on the planet, in individual lives, and many a times we miss the call to wake up, to change, or we allow the opportunity to slip through our fingertips because we're so overwhelmed by our emotion and experiences. Yet when the universe presents us the opportunity to up level and shift, we don't take it. And what I've learned is the reason why is because we're being full of fear, we're being scared, and we've misinterpreted these signs and we've learned to cope with them by running away or hiding, which is valid. Yet as we awaken, we realize that these moments are the biggest tests and the toughest trials that we have, and the way that we respond and open ourselves up to these moments is how our life is going to continue to play out. It's going to be the theme that we step into. It is going to be our habit. And what I'm talking about is triggers. When we get triggered, everybody has these moments. And they're very upsetting. They're very infuriating. They're a lot of things. But what we have to realize is when we experience these moments, it's not for any random reason. It's because there's something there that we need to look at. It's either poking our shadow, or we may have put too much emphasis on what someone says to us. We may have not understood what something means to us. There's a whole wide variety of different messages that come via triggers. And the more that we get comfortable with patience and pause, the more that we have the space and the time to respond properly and in alignment. Responding in alignment is the key here, because when we respond with overwhelmed emotions or we react, it's never a great place to be, right? All it does is perpetuate the problem or the issue, and then we have to take responsibility for that, and usually it sends us into a cycle. Yet when we practice, when we pay close and clear attention to what's happening aside from the emotional energy that's coming through, we can consciously create in a way that allows these moments to serve our highest potential, to help us, not hinder us. The underlying tone in triggers is healing. That's the biggest one, is healing and changing. An analogy that came to me is that we have to stop going to the gardens that bear no fruit. We have to stop going to the gardens that bear no fruit. We spend a lot of time and energy making our way to this garden only to see that there's nothing for us to pick. There's no benefits for us to reap. And what does that mean? That means that we haven't been nourishing this garden. We haven't been taking care of this garden or paying attention to this garden. And the easiest thing is to walk away, right? But what we're asked to do is to tend to that garden, to rework that garden, replant in that garden, and love that garden in a new way. Plant what we need. Pick the seeds that we know are calling us higher. Instead of continually going to the garden and choosing not to take action and leaving upset and even spewing words at the garden, take action. Take one baby step to do something different. Because the truth is, we only have so many gardens, and we have to take care of them. Our gardens can change at any time. We can completely rewrite the story of a particular garden. But all it requires us to do is pick up the pen. Allowing triggers to not take personal gain in our life is key as well. When it becomes a personal thing that this person hurt me or this person put me down, it can be very difficult to heal through that. We have to pay attention to the energy first. Energetically, what happened there? Emotionally, what happened there? Focus on you. It is not selfish. It is what's necessary to move through this consciously. And rather than blame, take responsibility in the smallest way. Maybe there is no responsibility for you to take, but just refrain from the blame. Refrain from the blame. And back to the garden analogy. What the trigger is when we walk up to the garden and we see that there's nothing there. It pulses a shock through our body. It completely shakes our foundations. And we have to be willing to stand there and face the garden. Let that energy move through. Let it exit. It always passes. It always, always passes. Don't respond until the energy passes. Kind of cutting between the analogy and actuality. The key is do not respond until the energy passes. Sometimes we do, and that's fine. But we want to do our best to allow that energy to fully move through us so we can absorb all the messages first. Understand what's going on. And then we reflect on that. And then we respond. We have all the time in the world. It comes back to that abundance mindset that we speak about. The truth of abundance. Subconsciously, we believe that we only have limited times to respond. We only have limited times to make a decision. And on the surface, that may be correct. But in truth, we have all the time in the world. We have all the space in the world. We can take any actions prior to our response as long as we are able to hold and maintain that space for ourselves. There's no rush. Sometimes it can hang over our head, but when it's hanging there, it's teaching us. It's guiding us. And that's grateful. That's gratitude. And sometimes we don't always have to converse with the person that triggered us. You don't. You'll know intuitively when that's the thing to do, but many times it's just a deep conversation we have to have with ourselves. And it can be much easier to facilitate that through another person, but the way in which it comes is of little significance as long as we are receiving the fruit. I started flowing there for a moment, really flowing. I'm going to wrap up this flow now. And the reason being because I have a lot to ponder and reflect upon when it comes to triggers. It's been really triggery lately. And just know that that means that there's deep healing coming. And you are going to see very shortly the fruits of your labor, the diligence of your commitment, and the freedom of your space. As long as you maintain integrity, honesty, and appreciation for life through these moments, everything will be higher than aligned. Higher than aligned. Remember this. Do your best to remember this. The hardest moment to remember this is when you get triggered. So use your body. I like to use my body when I feel that energy starting to tighten me. I look at a part of my body. I move a part of my body. And I recognize, okay, this is happening. This is happening. Let the energy move through. Do your best not to respond. And then sit with it for a little bit and ask what's going on. What did that hit? It's like Battleship. What did that hit? Dive in there. Talk. Communicate if you need. Really take clear, conscious intention when you enter into that space. And be willing to receive the wisdom, the nectar. In yoga, one of the teachings of that Lord Krishna shares is that sattvic, the highest form of life experience, is usually poison at first and then nectar at the end. Just like a trigger. It's poison, it's painful, it's difficult at first, but it is always nectar at the end, as long as we are willing to hold the space for it to play out its message and to roll out its red carpet. we will see the truth in the end. It just takes a moment or two. It takes a little bit of time. And so may you know that you are worthy and capable of that, and your highest desires and your truest alignments lie through those kind of struggles, lie within those kind of deep darknesses that we must face. And we are all empowered enough to do that. And let the universe guide you. Let God guide you. Let you be walked home, one step at a time, one moment at a time. And know that abundance awaits. Abundance is here now. All it needs us to do is shift a couple things around and let it in. All right, my loves. I'll be so honest. I have about 3 stories sitting in my Gmail that I promise I'm working on getting to. I'm doing my best. But I'm thankful for each and every one of you and for this little community, this gracious space. And let me know what you guys are going through. Let me know how triggers are coming up for you. Are you feeling triggery right now? Or Mercury retrograde is coming up and it's a biggie. It's going to take us into 2025. So if you're into astrology and that kind of stuff, realize that this is the work that needs to be done before we move on to this next cycle. And like I was saying, we don't have a limit. It's not always true that we have limited time, but sometimes we do have limited time. And we have to hold ourselves accountable to that and trust when that's the truth. So anyways, my loves, let me know what's going on. I'll see you guys in the comments. Until next time, you got this.